The Empire was a vast, intergalactic civilization that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. With countless star systems under their control, they had never encountered a challenge too great to conquer. Their ships were the strongest, their weapons the deadliest, and their military the most disciplined. For them, conquest was a simple matter of time. They had crushed many worlds, and soon Earth would be no different. At least that was the plan. The Empire's intelligence reported Earth as a peaceful, primitive world, one that had no means of defending itself against such an advanced force. To them, Earth was nothing more than a quiet, isolated planet, sitting in the farthest corner of the galaxy. It would be an easy target, they believed. Their invasion was meant to be a formality, a task to be completed swiftly, without much effort. The first signs of the invasion began as a massive fleet of alien warships emerged from the darkness of space. The Empire's ships, sleek and powerful, cut through the atmosphere above Earth like a swarm of locusts. They were led by the Empire's most experienced general, Arian, a ruthless strategist who had conquered hundreds of planets. To him, Earth was just another name on the list. From their observation stations on Earth, the humans watched as the skies darkened with the presence of the alien ships. The initial panic was short-lived. Most people on the ground had no idea what was happening above them. They went about their lives, unaware that a battle for their world was about to begin. However, the Earth's defense forces had been preparing in secret for years. They knew that someday someone would come to challenge their planet, and they wanted to be ready. Human scientists, engineers, and military strategists had worked tirelessly to develop advanced technologies hidden from the public eye. Their efforts were not in vain. The world's governments had kept the existence of Earth's military arsenal under wraps. They had built enormous underground bases and hidden airstrips, all designed to launch a surprise defense if necessary. The humans were ready, though no one knew how close the invasion truly was until the first blast shook the atmosphere. It began with a single, loud explosion as one of the Empire's ships fired a warning shot at Earth's largest city, New York. The blast sent shockwaves through the streets, shaking buildings and scattering people. Panic spread quickly, and the world came to a standstill. The people of Earth had never experienced anything like this. News outlets scrambled to report, and social media exploded with questions and confusion. Who were these invaders? What did they want? But while the people of Earth were in chaos, the military was not. Within seconds of the attack, Earth's air defenses were activated. Jets, stealth bombers, and other aircraft, previously thought to be outdated, took to the skies with precision. The Empire's invasion fleet, expecting a peaceful world, had not prepared for Earth's level of military readiness. The first wave of invaders was intercepted above the Atlantic Ocean. The alien ships, designed for total dominance, were massive, sleek, and advanced, each equipped with powerful energy cannons. The Empire had expected their weapons to overpower Earth's defenses without much effort. But they were wrong. Earth's fighter jets, equipped with newly developed plasma weapons, engaged. The alien fleet with impressive speed and agility. The Empire's ships were powerful, but their lack of maneuverability in Earth's dense atmosphere quickly became a problem. The Earth fighters flew circles around them, launching high-tech missiles that struck with pinpoint accuracy. Each missile carried an explosive force that shattered the shields of the invader ships, causing them to fall from the sky like flaming meteors. The people of Earth, watching in awe, began to realize that this wasn't the end. Their planet wasn't as vulnerable as the Empire had thought, but the battle was only beginning. The Empire's fleet quickly adjusted, deploying ground forces to subdue the resistance and claiming territory across the world's major cities. As the invaders began landing, they were met with fierce resistance. Earth's military forces, both hidden and open, struck with precision. They had not only advanced fighter jets, but also ground troops equipped with high-powered energy rifles. These soldiers, though fewer in number compared to the Empire's invading forces, fought with unmatched determination and grit. But the invaders had overwhelming numbers. The Empire's foot soldiers, tall and powerful, quickly overran several human cities. Buildings crumbled under the weight of their heavy artillery. Tanks that had once protected Earth's borders were obliterated by the Empire's superior technology. Yet, for every battle they won, the invaders underestimated the resolve of the people they faced. At the heart of the chaos, in the city of Washington, D.C., the global leaders of Earth gathered in a hidden underground facility. They watched in disbelief as the battle unfolded on massive holographic screens. The Empire had underestimated humanity's will to fight, and it was becoming clear that this was not going to be the easy victory they had predicted. The President of the United States, standing at the center of the Situation Room, gave orders to launch Earth's last line of defense. The world's superpowers had come together in secret long ago to develop a fleet of advanced warships, capable of holding their own against the might of any invader. These ships had been hidden beneath oceans, buried deep within mountains, and locked away in secret bases. "Launch them," the President commanded. A few hours later, the first Titan-class warship, the Horizon's Edge, emerged from beneath the ocean depths. It was humanity's last hope, a massive vessel built to withstand the toughest assaults. Its surface was covered in thick, reinforced armor, and its weapons were among the most powerful ever created by humankind. For the first time since the invasion began, the Empire's forces felt a shift in the balance of power. As the Horizon's Edge soared into the sky, it released a salvo of energy blasts that tore through the Empire's advancing ships. The invaders had no time to react. The Titan-class warship fired once more, and another alien warship exploded in a fiery explosion. On the ground, Earth's military forces pushed forward, using the momentary distraction to reclaim lost territory. The tide of battle had turned. The Empire's shock and awe tactics were no longer working. They had miscalculated the strength of Earth's military and underestimated its people's determination to defend their home. Back in space, General Arian watched in horror as Earth's unexpected counteroffensive shattered his forces. His eyes narrowed in disbelief. Earth was supposed to be an easy conquest. The people of Earth, once considered primitive, were proving to be anything but. As the Empire's fleet began to retreat, Arian's mind raced. He had failed, but he knew one thing. For sure, Earth had just changed the course of the galaxy. The Empire's retreat was a blow to their pride. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they had met a force that stood against them, humanity. General Arian, the proud leader of the invasion, seethed with frustration. He had never encountered a world like Earth. His troops, trained for centuries to conquer and dominate, had been caught off guard. The Empire's intelligence had assured him that Earth would be an easy target, but now they were learning the truth the hard way. With Earth's forces gaining momentum, Arian knew it was only a matter of time before the tables turned completely. He immediately ordered a regrouping of his fleet, but the damage was done. The humans had proven their strength. Their unexpected resistance had revealed something much more powerful than advanced weaponry. It was their unyielding spirit. On Earth, the victory was celebrated, but it was not a time to rest. Humanity had fought back, but they had only started. Their newly revealed Titan-class warships had done wonders against the Empire's initial wave, but Earth knew that the Empire wouldn't stop until they had crushed every last form of resistance. Earth's leaders, realizing the true nature of the battle, quickly made a bold decision. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades, if not centuries. Long before the Empire's invasion, Earth's brightest minds had been working in secret. The world's most advanced technologies were hidden away from public knowledge. The governments had known that Earth would one day be targeted, and so they had developed a series of weapons capable of defending their home from the most powerful foes in the universe. But these weapons had remained a secret. Their existence, known only to a select few. As the Empire's fleet regrouped in orbit, Earth's leaders activated a series of emergency protocols. Hidden beneath oceans, mountains, and remote deserts, vast underground bases hummed to life. The people who had been living their everyday lives were unaware of the secret military operations occurring beneath their feet. From the darkness of these hidden bases, humanity's hidden arsenal began to rise. The first of the hidden warships, a colossal Titan-class vessel named Horizon's Edge, broke through the surface of the Pacific Ocean. It rose like a giant from the depths, casting a massive shadow over the water. The ship was like nothing the Empire had ever seen. It was built to endure the most devastating of attacks, with reinforced armor capable of withstanding even the strongest energy blasts. Its weapons, designed by Earth's most skilled engineers, were able to fire concentrated bursts of energy powerful enough to rip through an entire fleet. The Horizon's Edge was followed by others, massive ships that emerged from the hidden, locations scattered across Earth. The Empire had no idea that these ships even existed. The humans had kept them well hidden, working tirelessly to build them in secret for a time like this. These Titan-class ships weren't just for show. They were weapons of war, built to fight the Empire and protect Earth at any cost. As the fleet of warships took to the skies and space, the Empire's commanders were left scrambling, realizing they had completely underestimated humanity. The first clash between Earth's Titan ships and the Empire's fleet occurred in the skies above the Atlantic Ocean. The Empire's warships, sleek and imposing, launched a volley of energy, blasts toward Earth's fleet. But the Horizon's Edge and its fellow Titan-class ships were ready. With a series of well-coordinated maneuvers, the human ships dodged the blasts and counterattacked. The battle was fierce, and it quickly became clear that Earth's warships were far more capable than anyone had expected. The Horizon's Edge fired a concentrated beam of energy that pierced through one of the Empire's ships, causing it to explode in a brilliant burst of light. The shockwave sent ripples across the ocean, but the humans weren't finished yet. As the Titan ships fired again and again, the Empire's forces struggled to respond. The Empire's fleet had expected Earth to be easily defeated. They had not planned for a well-equipped, highly advanced military. Their ships, once thought to be invincible, were being destroyed by humanity's ingenuity and perseverance. What had once been a minor threat for the Empire had now become their worst nightmare. Back on the ground, Earth's military forces were not idle. While the Empire's fleet fought in space, Earth's armies were pushing forward on the planet's surface. The hidden bases had produced more than just warships. Humanity had developed advanced ground technologies that included powerful energy cannons and advanced infantry units equipped with cutting-edge weaponry. In cities across the world, human soldiers fought back with courage and resolve. They used guerrilla tactics, taking the Empire by surprise at every turn. Even though the Empire's soldiers were technologically superior, they found themselves outmatched by humanity's creativity and adaptability. As Earth's forces moved through the cities, the invaders were forced to retreat, their supplies stretched thin. The Empire had never faced anything like this before. They were used to overpowering worlds with their sheer numbers and technology. But Earth was different. The humans didn't back down. They fought for their home, their families, and their future. The people of Earth had discovered a strength they had never known they had. And it was this strength that made all the difference. In the war rooms of the Empire's flagship, General Arian watched as his forces were pushed back. His confidence had turned to doubt. How could this be happening? He had studied Earth's history and believed it to be a primitive world, easy to conquer. But now, as the human resistance grew stronger, he realized that he had been gravely mistaken. The Empire's leadership convened in an emergency meeting. The invasion, which had once seemed like a simple task, was now spiraling out of control. Reports from the front lines spoke of human soldiers using innovative tactics and technology to hold their ground. The once feared empire was now on the defensive. General Arian tried to rally his troops, but it was clear that morale was sinking. The empire's troops had not signed up for a war like this. They were trained for domination, not for fighting a determined and resourceful enemy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was far from over. The human leaders knew that this was only the beginning. While the Titan-class ships and the advanced ground units had given humanity a fighting chance, Earth's leaders knew that the Empire would not stop. They had to act quickly to strengthen their position. Humanity's warships, armed with the best technology Earth had to offer, were ready to engage in the final battle. Earth's forces had gathered their strength, and with each passing day, their resolve grew stronger. The Empire, on the other hand, had underestimated the true strength of humanity. They had come to Earth expecting a peaceful, defenseless world. But instead, they had found a race that was willing to do anything to protect their home. As the final moments of the battle approached, it was clear that Earth's resistance would not only defend their world, but would change the course of history. Humanity's will to survive was stronger than any weapon the Empire could throw at them. As the days passed, Earth's resistance became more organized and relentless. What began as a desperate struggle for survival had transformed into a well-coordinated and determined defense against the Empire's overwhelming might. The Empire had come to Earth expecting a quick victory, but instead, they were faced with a human willpower that refused to yield. The Empire's leaders, still reeling from their initial losses, were forced to rethink their strategy. General Arian had been confident that the invasion would succeed swiftly, but now his confidence was replaced by doubt. The humans were not as weak as the Empire's intelligence had reported. The more they fought, the more they proved they were a force to be reckoned with. In the heart of Earth's military command centers, plans for a new kind of warfare were drawn up. Earth's leaders, working together with their top military strategists, realized that they needed to do more than simply defend. They needed to outsmart the invaders. Human creativity had always been their greatest strength, and now it would be put to the test. While the Titan-class warships continued to push back, the Empire's fleet in space, Earth's ground forces were gearing up for something different. They had learned from their past mistakes, and they knew that brute force alone wouldn't be enough to defeat the Empire. The key to victory lay in adaptability, in turning the enemy's strengths against them. Humanity's military leaders decided to employ unconventional warfare, guerrilla tactics that focused on striking quickly and disappearing before the enemy could retaliate. The Empire's forces, while technologically superior, were not accustomed to such hit-and-run strategies. They relied on their heavy weaponry and advanced technology, but the humans were determined to find ways to outmaneuver them. Across the globe, small, highly trained human teams were set up in major cities to carry out covert missions. They worked in the shadows, striking Empire supply lines, ambushing invader patrols, and sabotaging vital infrastructure. The humans had learned to blend into their surroundings, using the very cities the invaders had taken control of as their cover. The Empire's soldiers, equipped with advanced armor and weapons, found themselves outsmarted by these agile and resourceful human forces. In the city of London, a group of resistance fighters launched a surprise attack on an Empire convoy. The convoy was carrying supplies needed for the Empire's forces on the ground, but the humans had tracked it for days. When the convoy reached a narrow street, the humans launched a series of coordinated explosions that disabled the convoys, vehicles, and trapped the invaders. Before the Empire's forces could regroup, the resistance had already disappeared into the city, leaving only chaos behind. The humans didn't stop there. They had learned that the Empire's forces were highly dependent on their communication networks. Without these systems, the invaders would be crippled. A team of human hackers infiltrated the Empire's communication channels, disrupting their signals and confusing their commanders. For hours, the Empire's military was in disarray, unable to coordinate their attacks or respond effectively. Meanwhile, in the skies above Earth, the Titan-class warships continued their battle with the Empire's fleet. The Horizon's Edge and its sister ships had already proven their strength, but now the humans had a new weapon: stealth fighters. These small, fast ships were designed to sneak past the Empire's defenses and strike at their most vulnerable targets. One such mission took place over the deserts of Africa, where the Empire had set up a massive communications relay station. The stealth fighters, invisible to the Empire's radar, swooped in like shadows, launching precision strikes that crippled the relay station's power grid. The Empire's fleet, unaware of the humans' presence, continued to fight as if nothing had changed. But on the ground, the Resistance had just dealt a major blow to their ability to communicate. The Empire's generals were beginning to realize that they were facing an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. The humans were not just fighting, they were thinking, adapting, and changing the very rules of warfare. The Empire's soldiers were trained to fight with overwhelming force, but they were not prepared for an enemy that used intelligence and creativity as its weapons. Back in the Empire's command ship, General Arian paced nervously. Reports of the humans' successes were flooding in, and the once unshakable Empire had begun to show signs of weakness. Arian had relied on brute strength to conquer worlds, but now he was being forced to deal with a foe that could outthink and outmaneuver him at every turn. He turned to his advisors, his frustration boiling over. "What are we missing?" he demanded. "We've deployed our best forces, we've taken their cities, and yet they continue to resist. What is it about these humans that makes them so difficult to defeat?" One of his advisors, a senior tactician, hesitated before answering. "It's not just their weapons, General. It's their adaptability. The humans have a remarkable ability to learn from their mistakes and adjust their tactics. They don't rely on one approach. They use whatever works, and they're not afraid to change the way they fight at the last moment." Arian's eyes narrowed as he absorbed the information. The humans were using unpredictability as their greatest advantage. While the Empire had trained for years to follow rigid battle strategies, humanity was showing that they could evolve in the heat of battle. At that moment, General Arian made a decision. He would have to change his approach, too. He would have to fight fire with fire. The humans had proven their resilience, but the Empire still had resources at its disposal. Arian would unleash a new weapon, something the humans had not yet seen. If brute force could no longer guarantee victory, he would turn to something far more dangerous: fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans weren't slowing down. Their resistance was growing stronger every day. With each small victory, their confidence grew, and so did their understanding of the Empire's weaknesses. They were learning to fight smarter, to strike when the Empire least expected it, and to defend their world with everything they had. The global resistance leaders met in secret, discussing their next steps. They knew that the time was approaching when they would have to face the Empire head-on in a battle that would determine the fate of Earth. The humans were no longer fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. Humanity had proven that they were not just a peaceful world. They were a world that would fight for their home, for their future, and for each other. And as the war continued, the Empire would learn just how far the human spirit could go. The Empire's forces had been knocked back, but the war was far from over. General Arian's frustration was growing as the humans continued to surprise him at every turn. What had once seemed like a simple victory was now a prolonged and costly struggle. The Empire's fleet, which had been the pride of their military, was now struggling to keep up with Earth's relentless defense. Humanity's military leaders had been preparing for a confrontation like this for years, and they were not about to back down. The war had already begun to shift in their favor, and they were determined to keep the momentum going. Earth was no longer just defending itself. It was becoming the aggressor, pushing back against the Empire's forces with every move. In the UA, heart of Earth's military command, plans were being finalized for a decisive strike. Earth's leaders knew that the Empire would soon make its next move, and they had to be ready. It was not enough to continue with small-scale guerrilla tactics and stealth missions. The time had come to take the fight directly to the Empire. The first step in this new strategy was to launch a full-scale assault against the Empire's flagship, the vessel that commanded their entire fleet. If they could destroy or disable the flagship, it would cripple the Empire's ability to coordinate their forces. But this would be no easy task. The Empire's flagship was heavily protected by both its own defenses and the remaining Imperial ships that formed a protective barrier around it. On Earth, the leaders made the difficult decision to put everything on the line. They would launch a final, all-out attack to finish what had begun. Earth's fleet had already proven itself capable of holding its own against the Empire, but now it would have to face its greatest challenge yet. Humanity's fleet, including the mighty Titan-class warships, was assembled for the mission. The Horizon's Edge, the flagship of Earth's forces, would lead the charge. It was humanity's most powerful ship, equipped with the latest advancements in weaponry and shielding technology. The ship's captain, Commander Sarah Hunter, stood on the bridge, her gaze focused on the task ahead. "We're about to make history," she said to her crew, her voice calm, but filled with determination. "This is for Earth, for every man, woman, and child who's fought and sacrificed for this moment." Her crew nodded in unison, their faces set with resolve. The battle would not be easy, but they knew what was at stake. The entire galaxy was watching, and humanity had proven that they were not a species to be underestimated. As the fleet prepared for the assault, the Empire's commanders watched from their flagship. General Arian had received word of Earth's plans and knew that this attack would be their most dangerous yet. The flagship was the heart of the Empire's power, and it had to be protected at all costs. But as the humans' fleet approached, Arian began to realize something he had not fully grasped before. The humans were not afraid. They had endured every setback, every loss, and yet they were still here, still fighting. And now they were about to strike at the core of the Empire. He could feel the tension rising on his ship. His forces were prepared, but they were not ready for the determination of the humans. The more he studied them, the more he understood that this was not a war of mere technology, it was a war of willpower. The battle began as Earth's fleet moved toward the Empire's flagship, weaving through enemy fire and returning with deadly accuracy. The Horizon's Edge led the way, its weapons charging as it unleashed a series of high-powered blasts at the Empire's defenses. The shots hit their targets with precision, taking down several smaller ships that had been positioned to protect the flagship. But the Empire was not without its defenses. The flagship retaliated with a barrage of energy beams that struck the Horizon's Edge, sending shock waves through the ship's hull. The ship groaned under the pressure, but Commander Hunter stood firm, directing her crew with calm precision. "Return fire," she ordered. "We can't let them push us back. Keep the pressure on them." The human ships responded in kind, unleashing another wave of attacks that struck the flagship's shield, causing it to flicker and weaken. Despite the damage, the Empire's flagship remained a formidable opponent, its weapons still active and deadly. Meanwhile, on the ground, Earth's resistance fighters were not idle. The human forces had grown bolder, carrying out sabotage missions behind enemy lines. In major cities across the planet, resistance groups had been working to dismantle the Empire's infrastructure, cutting off supply routes and communications. The humans had learned that victory wasn't just about winning battles, it was about making the enemy's operations grind to a halt. In the streets of New York, a group of resistance fighters launched a final assault on an Empire control center. They knew the risks, but they also knew that taking down the Empire's communications network would weaken their control over Earth. The resistance fighters moved quickly and silently, planting explosives in key locations before slipping away into the shadows. Back in space, the battle raged on. The Horizon's Edge continued to lead the charge, pushing forward despite the heavy fire from the Empire's flagship. Commander Hunter could see that the Empire's defenses were starting to falter, their shields weakening with each successful strike. But they were not out of danger yet. Earth's fleet had taken some damage, and it was clear that the flagship was still dangerous. "We need to focus on their weapons," Commander Hunter said to her crew. "We take down their weapon systems and the rest will follow." The crew worked swiftly, targeting the Empire's weapon systems. Earth's warships fired with deadly precision, each shot aimed at a weak point in the flagship's defenses. Slowly but surely, the Empire's weaponry began to shut down, their ability to fire back dwindling. Then, with one final coordinated strike, Earth's fleet hit the flagship's core. The explosion was massive, sending shockwaves through space and shaking the surrounding fleet. The Empire's flagship, once thought to be invincible, was crippled. The human forces had succeeded. For a moment, there was silence. The battle was over. General Arian, watching from his command deck, was speechless. His flagship was destroyed, and with it, his control over the entire fleet. The humans had done the impossible. The tide of the war had turned. "We underestimated them," Arian muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "These humans, they are not what we thought." As the remains of the Empire's fleet drifted in the aftermath of the battle, Earth's forces regrouped, their victory solidifying humanity's place in the galaxy. The Empire had learned a harsh lesson that day: never underestimate the strength of a people fighting for their home. Earth's resilience had proven stronger than any weapon, and now the Empire would have to reckon with the full might of humanity. The final battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Earth's victory against the Empire's flagship sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The once mighty Empire, which had believed itself to be invincible, was now reeling from the loss of its most powerful vessel. For the first time, it was clear to everyone: the balance of power had shifted. General Arian stood in the command center of his remaining fleet, his face grim. The destruction of the flagship had crippled their ability to coordinate attacks. The Empire's forces, once united in purpose, were now scattered and disorganized. What had begun as an invasion to crush Earth was quickly turning into a retreat. The general paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had underestimated the humans from the beginning, and now he was paying the price. They had proven their strength, in space, on the ground, and in the very heart of the Empire's war strategy. What was left of his fleet was outmatched, and their morale was shattered. "Reposition the fleet," Arian ordered, trying to maintain a semblance of control. "We will regroup and prepare for another strike." But deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time before the Empire's forces collapsed. The humans had shown that they were not like any civilization the Empire had ever encountered. They were adaptable, fierce, and resourceful, with a willpower that refused to break. On Earth, the victory was met with celebration, but the leaders knew this was not the end. Earth's military commanders, scientists, and strategists gathered to discuss their next move. The humans had made incredible progress, but they could not afford to relax yet. The Empire was still a formidable force, and while it had suffered a great loss, it could still regroup and fight back. But something had changed. The Empire's once unstoppable war machine was now on the defensive, and Earth had proved that it was capable of protecting its people and its future. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they would not be pushed around, that they would fight for what was theirs. "The Empire will not give up so easily," President Sullivan said as he addressed the Global Council. "We must continue to press our advantage, but we need to prepare for their next move. They will regroup, and when they do, we must be ready." For the first time in the war, the humans were in control. The Empire, who had once expected Earth to fall before them, was now on the retreat. Earth's leaders knew that this was an opportunity to end the war for good, but they also understood the risks. The Empire would not surrender easily, and it would take everything humanity had to finish what they had started. Commander Sarah Hunter, captain of the Horizon's Edge, stood at the front of a room filled with high-ranking military leaders. "We have them on the ropes," she said, her voice steady. "But we can't let our guard down. If we do, they'll regroup and strike back harder than before. This is our chance to end the war once and for all." Hunter's words resonated with the room. The humans had fought hard, and they had won a critical battle, but the war was far from over. The Empire still had resources at its disposal, and it would not let Earth's resistance go unpunished. "We need to hit them where it hurts," General Davis, one of Earth's top strategists, said. "Their remaining fleet is in disarray, but they have supply stations scattered throughout the galaxy. We need to take out those supply lines. Without them, they won't be able to keep their forces together." The plan was simple but risky. Earth's fleet would launch a series of precision strikes on the Empire's supply stations, cutting off their resources and forcing the remaining forces to either surrender or face complete destruction. It would be a gamble, but it was one they had to take. As the military prepared for the final phase of the war, the people of Earth continued to fight on the ground. Resistance groups, now organized and equipped with Earth's best technology, carried out missions to sabotage the Empire's infrastructure. They were no longer just defending. They were fighting to reclaim their world, to push the invaders off their land once and for all. In the city of Paris, a small team of resistance fighters infiltrated an Empire-controlled communication station. Their mission was to destroy the station's power grid, cutting off communication between the Empire's remaining fleets. The team moved quickly, planting explosives in key locations before slipping back into the shadows. The explosion rocked the station, sending shockwaves through the Empire's control network. On the outskirts of Earth's major cities, underground resistance groups sabotaged transport routes and military installations. The Empire's forces were stretched thin, and as the humans continued to strike from every angle, the Empire began to realize that their position was no longer tenable. As Earth's fleet launched its final assault on the Empire's remaining supply stations, the Empire's leaders knew they were losing. They had no way of replenishing their forces, no way of regrouping, and no way of striking back with the force they once commanded. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. General Arian, standing on the bridge of his flagship, looked out at the remnants of his fleet. He had led his forces into battle with the belief that victory was certain. But now, all he could see was the collapse of his empire. The humans had fought with a strength he had never imagined, and now it was too late to stop them. "Prepare to retreat," he ordered, his voice filled with defeat. "We've lost." As the remnants of the Empire's fleet turned to flee, Earth's forces followed. They pursued the retreating ships, but they did not fire. The Empire had been broken. The war was over. Back on Earth, the people rejoiced. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had defeated the invaders and driven the Empire from their world. It was a victory like no other. A victory born of courage, resilience, and determination. President Sullivan stood before the world, addressing the United Nations. "Today we stand together as one. Today humanity has shown the galaxy that we are not just a peaceful world. We are a force to be reckoned with. We will never again be under the shadow of those who seek to destroy us." The world cheered. But there was something else in the air. Something deeper. The humans had not only defeated the Empire, they had proven something far more important. They had proven that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how great the odds, humanity would always fight to protect what it loved. The Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, had been humbled, and Earth, once thought to be a primitive, peaceful world, had shown its true strength. The war was over. but the lessons learned would echo through the galaxy for generations to come.